Hello everyone, it's Quick Flash, and today I've got a really cool feature that I'm going to be showing all of you. The feature that I'm talking about today is called sliders. It's something that is not yet added to the code. Well, it is in the development branches. It's a new feature that allows you to use sliders to tune your quad instead of using just PID, just PIND gains. So this is not final as yet. It's still in the works. Still could be subject to change. But right here, I'm in the CLI because it's CLI only now, or OSD. Type right there, get slider. What you can see is my slider gain for roll is 50. My slider I gain is 140. My slider D ratio is 56. Slider gain pitch, blah, blah, blah. You can see all these numbers. What do they all mean? Basically, this slider gain is your P term. Think of slider gain as P term or just total gain of your PIDs. However you want to look at it, it's the same thing. So that's what slider gain is. The slider I ratio is what percentage your I term is in relation to the in relation to this gain. So since the I ratio is 140, that means that the I is 140% higher. Doing the math here, that puts your I at 70. These are just default values. So your P is 50, your I is 70, your D is 56. So that's almost half. It's almost half of what your P is, since it's 56. So this is just the gain, and these ratios are percentages. This is just the total gain. These are the percentages. Total gain is P, I ratio and D ratio are the percentages. So how do we save this? How does it work? Well, you have to set use sliders equals on. Now, whenever you want to save your sliders, you have to turn this on every time, because you'll save this as on, but it will turn itself off. And that's just because the slider values and the PID values, they're both integers, but to do the math to give us a percentage, to create the ratios, that has to go into a float, then back to an int, and you end up with some, a little bit of messiness. And what happens if I try to save P, if I try to save normal PID values, and then I try to use sliders at the same time, which one is going to take precedence, how's it going to save? So to get away from all that mess, you have to turn use sliders on anytime you want to save. So if you're in the OSD, there's a value called use sliders. You have to set that to on and then change your values, and it will. Doing that will let you actually tune with the sliders. Now the sliders are subject to change based on input, but here's what they're at right now. Perhaps we can change it differently, give me some feedback, but this is just a rough draft of these sliders. So I come in here, I want to change things. I can go, okay, use sliders on. So now I'm ready to save with the sliders. So set slider gain roll. Let's set that to 60. And then let's set the slider I ratio equal to 150, so that should set it to 90. Forgot to say which axis. So because that's pitch. Anyways, I guess I'll do everything pitch now. Just bear with me. Okay, so gain for pitch is 60, I ratio is 150, and I'm going to make my D ratio for pitch 50, so it should be half. So it should be, my D should be 30, my I should be 90, and my P should be 60. Now that I've done this, and if you haven't noticed, I've been pushing the up arrow. That's how I'm able to go through these previous commands in here. It's fairly nice and useful. Anyways, I've done all that, so I'm going to save this. Now, my pitch P should be 60, pitch I should be 90, and D should be 20. It should be 30. I almost said 25. Now, let's verify that is the case. So pitch P is 60, integral 90, and derivative is 30, just like I said. So that's currently how the sliders work. You have your slider gain, which if I raise the gain, it'll also raise my I. So if I come back in here, and I wanted to show you that, this autocomplete stuff is kind of not working right now. Fails every time, so I just input some text to get rid of all that. Get slider, and you can see that use sliders turned itself off, just like I said it would. And pitch 61, 50, 50, it's still the same. So come in here, set slider gain pitch. It was 60. Let's raise that to 90 and see what it does to everything else. Now we come in here, and will you look at that? Nothing happened. Now, think about it. What did I do wrong? I didn't say I wanted to save with the sliders. And that is a little safety thing. So whenever you want to save with the sliders, you have to say git use sliders equals on. Not get, set, my bad, set use sliders equals on. Then set slider gain pitch equals, and I said 90. So we're going to set that to 90, and this time it will save. Come back here, and look, it saved that time. So our pitch is 90. Our integral is now still 150% larger. So half of 90 is 45. Add that to there. So anyways, this integral is 135, which is 150% larger, and the d is still half, or 50%, of what pitch is. I mean pitch, your proportional, your p. So that's how the new sliders work. Yeah, I mean, they're fairly cool. Obviously, because of decimal precision, moving between the two won't perfectly, do numbers. As you can see, I never tried to mess with my yaw D gain. It started out as 5, it's now down to 3. And that's because defaults for your yaw P is 60. Let me just pull up a calculator and show you what's going on. Defaults are 60, so 5 divided by 60, it gives you 8.33333. Now, we can't display these decimals here. So when you're looking at your slider value, it's just 8. That's what the yaw D is, it's just 8. So then when you save your sliders, it then converts that 8 back over, and when you do 0.08 times 60, anyways, it changes the numbers, never goes quite directly across. So when you do it, you can always check back, look at your PID gains to see if they are what you want them to be. Might change the way these numbers work. Something simpler, easier, I don't know. Let me know what you think about this. But yeah, these are the new slider features. Hoping that these are relatively simple and can help you tune. If you like that slider idea, you could tune only using the slider idea. Just, use the gain as your PID gain and forget about PID and what numbers they are. Think of, your gain as just the total gain of everything, and then I and D are those ratios, and just what ratio do you want them to be, and play around with those. If you guys can think of a better way to do this, let me know. I'm all open to that. But the main idea with this way of tuning is you can get a P and D ratio, and then if you want to change both of your P and D ratio, you can then just increase the gain once you find the proper ratio. And you're just increasing and decreasing the gain. Then if you want more integral, you can just pump that up or down fairly easily, and it'll allow you to just mess with your PIDs. If you think your PIDs are too high but you like the ratios, you can just turn the gain down and everything else will scale proportionally. Proportionally for the most part, because as you can see, you know, the math doesn't quite perfectly correlate just because we don't have enough accuracy, but it's close enough for this, because really changing your P by 1, you know, your I by a value of 1, or even your D just by 1, it's not really going to be enough to change things too much. You know, there's not going to be much of a noticeable effect. But yeah, these are the first attempt at putting sliders into EmuFlight. Of course, the GUI will need to be updated for that. But like I said, remember when you're using this, if you are going to be messing around with these versions of the sliders, be sure to remember that you need to set this value to on. So even in the on-screen display, you have to turn that on, and that lets your code know that you want to use the sliders to change the values. If it's off, then that is not the case, and it doesn't want to do this. So just one note you have to make is you have to use sliders to on whenever you want to save settings. If you just want to look at what the settings are, you know, just type get sliders, not get sliders, get slider, and they will all pop up here. You know, you have your gain, which is just your p-value, your I ratio, and your D ratio. So D can kind of be looked at your P to D gain, what percentage is your D compared to your P. I is kind of a P to I gain, but people don't think about that so much. But then yeah, so you have your PID gain, P to D ratio, P to I ratio. And those are all things you can come in here and mess around with instead of actual PID numbers. Anyways, I thought you guys might think that's interesting for the testers that'll be testing this, so let them know how to use it. For those of you just watching, seeing the development of EmuFlight, yeah, I mean, this will probably be coming at some point, or some other version of this will probably be coming to the code at some point. But I thought this was cool that I was able to get this to work. I didn't think I'd be able to without a lot of effort originally. Turns out I was wrong, so here's this. It's pretty cool. At least I think it is. It lets you tune PIDs normally. It lets you use sliders even in the OSD. These are different than the EmuFlight sliders, as you can tell. And something nice about these sliders is if you do change your PIDs separately, you know, you move a P value up a notch, or an I value up a notch, or a D value up a notch, just on its own, it doesn't destroy your ability to use sliders. And these work in the OSD, so that was kind of the reasoning behind this. Anyways, I've probably rambled on too much, but thanks for watching. Have a great day, and thanks for flying EmuFlight.